Cartoons seem fun and harmless at first glance. Meant to be innocent, right? But today, we're diving into some of the darkest cartoon theories out there. They're genuinely unsettling, and I guarantee they'll make you see your favorite shows in a whole new light. The first one comes from Peppa Pig, and it's surprisingly grim for a children's series. I was truly shocked the first time I heard it. Let's check out this TikTok. It explains everything really clearly.
George doesn't actually exist. Everything is just Peppa's imagination. On the surface, Peppa's family has 4 members: Daddy Pig, Mummy Pig, Peppa, and George. But in reality, they are a family of 3, and George has never truly existed. The most obvious clue is George's clothes. Daddy Pig, Mummy Pig, and Peppa all have clothes in different colors to change into, but George only has that one blue onesie. This unchanging outfit is more like a fixed symbol in an imaginary world than the clothing of a child growing up in reality. The details in the Snowy Mountain episode are even more thought-provoking. When Peppa's family takes the cable car up the mountain, Daddy Pig rides alone in one cable car, while Mummy Pig squeezes into another with 2 children. Logically, high-altitude cable cars wouldn't allow a parent to take 2 young children at the same time. Daddy Pig could easily have taken care of 1 child, yet they chose this unconventional arrangement. This might suggest that, from a realistic perspective, Mummy Pig was actually only with Peppa. George's existence is just an illusion shared by Peppa or the whole family. What's more, the animation has shown Peppa as a baby, and even scenes of Susie Sheep's childhood, but it has never depicted George as a baby. Although there are shots of Mummy Pig being pregnant with George, this might have been an unfulfilled expectation. The child may never have been born, plunging the family into grief. To ease their pain, they imagined George's image to stay by their side. Do you think this theory makes sense? Feel free to discuss in the comments section.
Isn't it unsettling to see Peppa Pig in this light? There's actually a lot of convincing evidence. I never even noticed before that George always wears the same blue onesie and never seems to own any other clothes. Now, on to our next theory, which comes from the classic show Ed and Eddy. It aired in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I used to watch it constantly. But when I stumbled upon this theory, it genuinely shocked me. It was disturbing, yet surprisingly plausible.
Have you ever heard of the Ed, and Eddy theory? The theory suggests that all the kids in the neighborhood are dead and all their adventures are taking place in purgatory. Evidence that supports this theory is because the kids have blue or green tongues, which is evident in corpses. In earlier seasons, the children experience an endless summer, which suggests that time no longer exists. The reason they never leave the cul-de-sac is because they can't. They are stuck souls, forced to live out eternity in the neighborhood they died in. According to the theory, the children all come from different eras between the 1900s and 2000s. Rolf is the eldest of the bunch and died in 1903 after being stampeded by his family's farm animals. Johnny died in 1922 from tuberculosis. His wooden friend Plank was created as a result of his loneliness, and he took Plank into the afterlife since it was the last thing he saw before he died. Eddy moved from New York to the neighborhood during the Great Depression and would scam the neighborhood kids to earn money. Eventually, the children caught on to his tricks and chased him down. To escape, Eddy jumped into a lake and drowned. Even in purgatory, Eddy is still chasing the idea of wealth and money and continues his scams even after death. Ed and Sarah moved into the neighborhood next after their father died in World War II. When their heartbroken mother becomes distant and neglectful, they each find their own ways of coping. Sarah takes on the parental role, while Ed gets lost in his own imagination through comic books. They both passed away in a car accident in 1953. Naz came from a hippie family in the 1960s. Unfortunately, her life was short-lived after her and her entire family were murdered in 1979 by a serial killer who escaped from a nearby asylum. Double D originates from the 70s and came from a strict household where he was raised to strive for perfection in every aspect of his life. Being so worked up and determined to become the best son he could be, he spent extra time on schoolwork and did not notice the gas leak coming from his chemistry set, which eventually exploded and resulted in his death. Kevin came from the 80s. His bullying persona was a result of the abuse he faced from his father, who beat him to death in the winter of 1999. Even though his dad was sentenced to life imprisonment for his son's murder, Kevin imagines his dad as the complete opposite. While in purgatory, he is loved by the very man who ended his life. Jimmy is the youngest of the group, originating from the 90s. Because he suffered from leukemia, he wasn't allowed to hang out with the other children in fear that he would wind up hurt. Eventually, he died from his illness. The Cankers are said to be demons sent to purgatory to torture the souls of the children. Their attraction to the Eds is because they have the weakest will and they each represent a deadly sin. Even though there is some evidence supporting this theory, there's more going against it. For instance, the reason for the children's green tongues is due to the candy they eat, with particular reference to jawbreakers and their vast array of colors. The time period is made to be ambiguous, but by closely examining certain background elements, such as magazines and product boxes, viewers can easily identify the era as taking place sometime during the 90s.
This theory seriously ruined my childhood. All of the characters' backstories line up perfectly with their personalities, and it makes you wonder if it was really planned that way. Next, let's expose a strange and unsettling theory about Dora the Explorer.
Do you know about the real intention behind Dora the Explorer? So if you were alive around the same time as me, you would remember this iconic intro. And as it is going through the house and the song is playing, we find it stop at the computer where Dora is. Now it's important to note that computer in Spanish ends in Dora. So the TV series Dora the Explorer is all about the internet. The intro is telling us that Dora's world is in the computer. Her world is the internet. Dora is an internet explorer, but it literally gets crazier. We all know that Swiper is the villain in the show. Swiper the Fox. Back when Internet Explorer was more popular, its rival was Firefox. So does Swiper represent Firefox? Is the whole show alluding to their rivalry? And it's made by Internet Explorer, perhaps to subconsciously promote to use their company versus Firefox. Do you believe this theory? Come over here for more freaky.
There's actually a lot of evidence supporting this one, and it's true. It's unsettling to realize how closely the characters mirror elements of analog horror. That connection completely changes how you view the show. This next series has countless theories, many of them disturbing. But this one stands out because it actually explains all those strange and eerie events we always saw happening.
Have you ever heard of the Courage the Cowardly Dog creepypasta theory? Courage the Cowardly Dog follows an anxiety-ridden dog named Courage who lives in the middle of nowhere with his elderly owners, Muriel and Eustace. Unfortunately, the middle of nowhere is under constant attack by dangerous mythical and spiritual forces, leaving Courage to protect his home and his family against the constant evils that plague the land. There are 3 theories for Courage the Cowardly Dog. One theory states that Courage is a reincarnation of the Hound of Hell, Cerberus. Evidence that supports this theory is when Courage exaggerates alterations of his body when expressing his emotions, and oftentimes giving himself multiple heads, which is a similar physical trait as Cerberus. With the middle of nowhere representing hell, Muriel and Eustace representing mankind, the theory is that Courage is a guard dog of Hades, trying to protect mankind from the evil sprouting from the underworld. Although it's an interesting conspiracy, I think we can all agree that Courage is way too fearful to be considered the Hound of Hades, and has enough trouble protecting Muriel and Eustace, never mind mankind. The second theory is that everything we see is being shown from a dog's perspective. All the monsters we see aren't actually monsters, but because Courage thinks they are, and the story is being told from his point of view, the monstrous depictions are what we see. The third theory arises from the last episode of Season 1, where Muriel and Eustace are puppets, with Courage acting as the maniacal puppet master. The theory explains that after this episode, Muriel and Eustace remained as puppets. Since they are actually dead, Courage is slowly going insane due to starvation and isolation because he is stuck in the middle of nowhere alone. As a result, Courage is pretending they're still alive by reenacting gruesome and horrendous plots as he slowly succumbs to madness.
This theory ties directly into mythology, and that's what makes it even creepier. When cartoons draw from real myths and legends, things take a dark turn fast. Now, we can't move on without covering a chilling theory from SpongeBob SquarePants.
The truth behind Bikini Bottom's secret villain, Eugene Harold Krabs. Today, we're diving deep into the mysteries of Bikini Bottom. You know, when you take a closer look at the main characters, something just doesn't add up. SpongeBob has sponge parents, Patrick has starfish parents, Squidward has a squid mom, and Mr. Krabs has a crab mom. But what about Pearl, the whale? How does she end up being the daughter of a crab? It's a head-scratcher for sure. I believe Pearl actually has whale parents that are never mentioned in the TV show, and Mr. Krabs might be hiding some secrets that could land him in prison for the rest of his life. Yeah, we're talking about a crime that's been right under our noses all this time. Murder. Mr. Krabs killed Pearl's mother. Hold on, let me break it down for you. We all know Mr. Krabs is a money-obsessed cheapskate. Most of his wealth comes from the Krusty Krab, making him one of the richest residents in Bikini Bottom. But here's the kicker. What's so special about the Krabby Patty that drives everyone wild? And why did Plankton dedicate his whole life to getting his hands on the secret formula? Well, Maybe it's because the Krabby Patty meat isn't crab meat at all. It's something else entirely. And where does Mr. Krabs get this mysterious meat from? It seems like he has a huge stash of it somewhere. Here's the mind-blowing revelation. The formula contains whale. I know it sounds crazy, but bear with me. Remember that episode where SpongeBob finally convinced Squidward to try a Krabby Patty? At the end, we saw a massive vault filled with thousands, maybe even millions of pre-made Krabby Patties. Now, isn't it odd that Mr. Krabs and SpongeBob would make so many patties in their free time, considering how busy the Krusty Krab is? It just doesn't add up. So here's my theory. Mr. Krabs might have started the whole Krabby Patty business just to hide Pearl's dead mom's carcass. Yeah, it sounds grim, but stay with me. As the Krabby Patty became more and more profitable, Mr. Krabs saw the opportunity and decided to go with the flow. But remember, nothing lasts forever. There will come a day when Mr. Krabs runs out of Pearl's dead mom's carcass. And then, the next target will be Pearl herself. Now, I know Mr. Krabs loves his daughter, but I believe his love comes with conditions. He wants Pearl to stay healthy and grow larger so that he can ultimately satisfy his insatiable greed by murdering his own daughter. I know it's shocking, but this theory starts to make sense when you connect the dots. Remember that catchphrase Mr. Krabs uses, mother of pearl, instead of saying holy shit or crap? Mother of pearl! Mother of pearl! Mother of pearl! I think it's a manifestation of his guilt over the murder he committed. In Mr. Krabs' house, among all his Navy stuff, you'll notice pictures of whales displayed on the walls. But take a closer look. There's one picture of a whale beating a ship with its tail, and it's way too big to be Pearl. I believe that's Pearl's mother. Pearl's mother probably got killed by a hunter, and who loves fishing more than anyone? That's right, it's Mr. Krabs. He has a reputation for being part of the Navy and loving clam fishing. He's considered the toughest among all his friends. Remember that episode, Sleepy Time, where SpongeBob ventured into Mr. Krabs' dream? He was clown fishing and mentioned something that might prove this whole theory, Moby Dollar. It's a direct reference to Moby Dick, a story about a captain's obsession with hunting an enormous whale out of revenge. In another episode, Clams, Mr. Krabs freaked out when his first dollar was stolen by Old Blue Lips and even tried to kill SpongeBob and Squidward over the sadness of being separated by his money. Maybe the whale in the picture ate his first penny, nickel, or dime, leading to the murder of Pearl's mom. I know it's just a theory, but the evidence seems to point in a chilling direction. What do you think?
It's incredibly grim, yet this theory makes perfect sense. And if Pearl ever discovered Mr. Krabs' secret, she definitely wouldn't take it well. Who knows how she'd react? Even more terrifying, what does Mr. Krabs do when he runs out of Pearl's mother? All right, what do you think about these theories? What are your favorite cartoon theories? Have a great day and stay safe.
Did you know that there's a creepy theory about Scooby-Doo that makes the show way darker than you remember? What if I told you the gang wasn't just solving mysteries, but surviving in a broken world? The show is set during a massive economic collapse. A depression so bad, even rich celebrities and professionals turn to crime just to survive. That's why so many of the villains in the show are former professors, business owners, and inventors. People who once had everything but lost it all. And think about this. Why don't the cops ever show up or tell the gang to stop solving crimes? Because they're busy committing crimes themselves. In this world, even the adults can't be trusted. And the gang, they're always traveling in the mystery machine because schools have shut down and there's nowhere stable to live. That's why they're constantly on the road, running into spooky abandoned places. It's all that's left of the world. Even the mysteries they solve have a pattern. It's always about someone trying to scare people away from property or resources. In a world where survival is everything, scaring others off is just another way to stake a claim.